and welcome back. This week we're going to continue talking about some dimensions of personality and personality disorders. And in this segment, I wanted to discuss a non-pathologizing way of discussing and assessing personality. Last week we previously talked about the 5-factor model of personality, and if some of you have taken the assessment class already, you may be familiar with a second assessment instrument, the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. And as you know, it gives you 4 dimensions, and it's a way of describing personality that's non-pathologizing, that either way anybody scores is just considered a natural dimension of their personality. So the first dimension that it covers is extroversion versus introversion, where the extroversion describes somebody who focuses on the outside world, somebody who gets energy, who gets sort of stimulated from interaction with the outside world, but mostly, with people. They also like interacting with people, and they like doing a lot of things with people. So they're extroverts. On the flip side, if you have the I, introversion, then you're focused more on your inner world, and you get energy through reflection and information, ideas or concepts. You need time to kind of regroup and regenerate, and you recharge your battery, so to speak, internally. So that's the E or the I of the Myers-Briggs. The second dimension that they have is sensing or intuition. So the sensing part, if you score higher on sensing, that describes somebody who notices and trusts facts. So this is how you get your information. You get your information from details and from present realities. You really trust the facts in a matter of how you get your information. If somebody, now they use N for the intuition, so instead of the I, because the I goes for introversion in the previous dimension. So instead of sensing, if you score higher on intuition, then you tend to attend to and trust inner relationships, theories, and future possibilities. You develop more of a sense of intuition about how it is that you understand the world or get information. So where the first dimension, extroversion versus introversion, describes kind of how you get your energy, how you relate to people, if it's something that you really kind of get a lot of energy from the outside world relating to people, or you need to recharge and regroup, and you're more introverted that way. The second dimension, sensing versus intuition, relates to how it is you get information. Do you get information by sensing, using your senses, noticing facts from the outside world, or do you use your intuition? Do you really attend to and trust more kind of how things are interrelated, how you see maybe coincidences, things that are interrelated, theories, and your intuition? The third dimension is thinking versus feeling. People that fall into the thinking realm, they make decisions using logical analysis, and they want to achieve objectivity. So when they're trying to make a decision, they, a decision about anything. Should I go to graduate school? Big decision that all of you made. If you're more of a thinking person, according to the MBTI, then your personality has you making decisions by really using a logical analysis, pros and cons. What would you like to achieve objectively? Say you have a clear objective of becoming a certain kind of a therapist, or working in a certain kind of a setting, perhaps offering a certain kind of healing work with certain population. And that's really a clear objective goal of yours, and then you saw this program as a way to achieve your goal. Now, if you're more of a feeling person, same kind of a question. You would make decisions using more person-centered values that achieve harmony. Maybe you think about how, you really think it's important to have compassion-based work with people. It's extremely important to really kind of learn a contemplative approach. You may not have a clear goal in mind, but you really just have a feeling that this is a place where you visited, you heard about it, and you just felt a strong pull to it. You felt a sense of being in harmony with your values, and you made a decision based on this person-centered approach. You really kind of clicked with the mission, the values, just the sense of the people that were here, the kind of program, and that describes more of a feeling person. So this third dimension, thinking versus feeling, they use T versus F. And finally, in the MBTI, the fourth dimension involves judging or perceiving. And so somebody who falls into the judging realm, they're described as somebody who tends to be very organized and orderly and make decisions very quickly. So they, this is somebody who, in not just in general, but also in leading their day-to-day life. They're doing their assignment, they're ready to go, they've got it graded or organized or whatever it is, really quickly, kind of boom, boom, boom. There isn't a whole lot of, inner maybe relating around it. They can kind of do things very quickly, in a very organized fashion according to like an external clock. Somebody who's considered more perceiving, these people tend to be more flexible, adaptable. They like to keep their options open. We all know people like that, where you're trying to solidify plans. They're like, well, call me the next day. We'll see where I'm at. Well, what do you mean we'll see where you're at? We need to make plans to go somewhere. But people that fall into the more perceiving area, they need the flexibility. It's very difficult in some ways for them to maybe nail down a meeting place, or nail down an assignment, or nail down an activity. And they really like to keep possibilities open as long as possible. Let's see what unfolds. Let's see what we feel like. Let's see what the weather's like. Let's see what other options open up to us. And then maybe we'll go hiking, maybe we'll go to a festival, maybe we'll go to a movie. It's really hard for them to make plans a week in advance or something like that. And so we all know people, that fall into all combinations. There's many, many combinations. So I'm curious if you all have taken the MBTI. And again, this MBTI assessment, it does not measure your skills or ability in any area. Rather, it's a tool that helps you become aware of your particular style and to really understand and appreciate the helpful ways that people differ from one another. So I've taken it several times, both a full version and an online version. If you just Google MBTI or Myers-Briggs, not the full kind of official version, but there's a kind of an estimate that's available for free online that may give you a very similar profile that kind of the full version can give you. So you could always just try, and many of you have maybe taken it in your introductory assessment class. So I'm curious if folks would like to take a guess of what my personality style on the MBTI is. So I'll give you a minute. You can maybe take a guess. So hopefully you've taken a guess already. I've taken this many times, and the one dimension that comes up most strongly, because you could be kind of really far on one side, far on the other side, or a bit moderate in the middle, is I score most strongly on introversion. Now, interestingly, that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily shy or socially anxious. When I was a child, I was a little bit more shy or had a little bit more discomfort. As an adult, with the kind of work that I've done, I don't really feel that way anymore. But certainly, the questions that get at the introversion and the overall concept of how, I get burnt out from too much social interaction. I love friends. I love activities. There's lots of activities that I enjoy that involve groups of people, but I have a time limit on how long I can do that. And I seem to kind of get more energy. I need to recharge by being alone, participating in contemplative practices, definitely meditation, yoga, walking, hiking. I enjoy spending some of that time alone just to kind of regroup and recharge. So I definitely score strongly on the I. On the second dimension, I score on the intuitive. So the N, I tend to trust my inner feeling about things, but because I've been trained so much as a scientist, I mean, from an early age, I had really excellent scientific training, and I love science so much, both natural sciences and social science, that I understand the scientific method. I understand observation, hypothesis testing, all of those things that where you have some sort of an objective that you're looking at, and so I'm kind of moderately on the intuition. I can use some objective data to getting information, but I also really, at the core of it, I do value intuition and interrelationships. I'm a very relational kind of a person. And the third element, thinking versus feeling, I do use the feeling. I make decisions based on this kind of a person-centered approach. And then finally, judging versus perceiving, I actually do score quite moderately or more on the perceiving, that I tend to be more flexible, adaptable, with a sense of time or assignments. That's probably something I should have shared with all of you early enough, that I'm not as sort of rigid about certain deadlines. When I create a syllabus, it's something that I like to be kind of a living body or a process of work, that of course it's required. We need to have a syllabus, and we need to have certain counseling requirements that are present, and all of that. The outline, the body is all there. But in terms of, well, are we going to maybe add a topic, change a deadline? A lot of those things are unfolding. So it is challenging for me, the way my personality is, to have everything completely concretized without really the process of being in there and knowing what the needs of students are, interactions with the students. So that's something that I think that I will share more in the future, that everything will get done, it will unfold, but just kind of trust me on the journey, and I'll do my best to try to pull it a little bit more into that judging area of getting it all done on time, because everybody does have a need for certainty in situations. So I think it's interesting, to spend this time talking about the MBTI, because it is a completely non-pathologizing way of looking at personality. Even though similar with, I think, the 5-factor model, if you were to think about somebody who was a real extreme, could that be telling of somebody who perhaps, could that be correlated in any way with personality disorders? Well, that's not necessarily been the use for the MBTI. So somebody who scores really highly on introversion, not in the super extreme range, but I'm definitely out of the moderate, to range. I'm not socially anxious. I don't have a social phobia. I am a bit slower in my response to others, and would, in some cases, rather, not communicate than communicate. So the introversion is kind of strong in me, but it's not necessarily related to like a social phobia or anxiety. So in that way, I think that it might be fascinating for all of you to consider this way of assessing personality dimensions in a non-pathologizing way that helps people really understand their behavior and understand, how it is that they interpret the world. Okay, thank you.